Well, rammer, jammer, and drop the hammer. It's a special United Kingdom edition here on the Bama Slammer. I'm Bama Dave, your host. You can follow me on social media at BamaDave24. You can follow this show at Bama Slammer. And you can follow the SmackDraw podcast brand at SmackDraw Podcast on all major platforms. It's a privilege and an honor to be with you guys today. I want to love to introduce to you this panel for this very special edition. We are doing our top 10 favorite UK wrestlers. Now, I'm going to put this disclaimer right up front. We are including Ireland in this list because over here in America, we kind of group it all together. I know the history and I know what's going on between the UK and the nation of Ireland. However, there's too many talented people on these two islands to not let everybody be included. And so if any of these guys have Ireland on the list, I've got Ireland on my list as well. We love you guys over there. You're all friends and allies to us. So can we put aside the discrepancies for this? Because it's pro wrestling. Let's all get along and have fun. The IWC does enough fighting for us. Let's not fight amongst ourselves now. Anyway, but let me introduce our esteemed panel to you. First, over here to my right, he is the host of the It's My Wrestling podcast, gaining major traction on the podcast charts. He interviews everybody from in-ring talent to those who work behind the scenes to those who play major roles in the pro wrestling business. He is not shy at all with his pro wrestling takes on social media, so be sure you follow him. Welcome back to the Bama Slammer, Mr. Chris Deez. How are you, sir?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you, buddy. Thank you very much for having me. Second time in 4 days, I think, that I've been on the show.
Don't tell them that.
I'm going to move in. I'm going to be moving in and be a permanent.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah, we're recording this episode in advance. It's going to air probably in a month and a half or so. But yeah, Chris and I have done a couple of shows here lately. He and I, we go back and forth on Twitter a lot, and we try to boost each other up, push other people to each other's things, but also we share a lot of the same takes. Occasionally, we might disagree on something, but I think he knows what he's talking about. He's got some really cool stuff coming up here soon. I'll let him promote. Directly below Chris, you might remember him from the show we did with Chris about a month ago. He's a former writer for Body Slam. He's a big pro wrestling fan, and he's a massive Tottenham supporter. This is Mr. Mike Nun. Mike, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me again.
Awesome.
Looking forward to breaking UK stuff down with you.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you back. So how are your Tottenham doing this year?
Up and down. Up and down. Up and down. Okay. I'm going to say it's looking up.
Looking up. Nowhere to go but up. Okay. That's not where you want to be. Anyway, all right. And finally, right below me, he is a YouTube creator and podcaster that gives in-depth, detailed analysis on matches from the past and the present. He's also a fan of the top 10 list, and that will come in handy on our show today. Welcome for the first time to the Bama Slammer, Mr. Wooldridge. This is Aaron. Aaron, how are you, sir?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Great to be on the show. Big fan of all of you guys. So, yeah, great to be on the show and looking forward to getting into this one.
Aaron, what would you say is your favorite top 10 or top 5 list that you've done so far?
Probably the one where it was before CM Punk showed up in AEW, and I just thought I might as well see if I can give the top 10 opponents for him. Made me think quite hard about it. And, just coming up with all those different matchups got me quite excited. And then, he did show up. So, because I think this was before I actually knew that he was going to appear in AEW. So, that was quite fun to do, yeah.
Has he wrestled anybody on your list yet?
Darby Allin.
Okay.
So far.
You're right. The first one out. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, I'm excited to have all three of you here. And I want to let everybody out there know, if you're watching us on a live stream, which is twitch.tv/SmackDraw, we appreciate you doing that. Make sure you give us a follow and join us in the chat when we're live. We'll always shout you out, and we thank you for chatting with us and joining us live. If you're watching this video right now on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/SmackDraw Podcast, please make sure you go over there and like the video. Make sure you give us a comment. We'd love to interact with you on YouTube. Subscribe and then click that bell so every time we post a video, you'll get notified immediately and you can go and watch it. All of our content that comes out is top-notch, and we don't want you to miss out on any of it. So be sure you do that. You can also listen to our show in podcast form on whatever major podcast platform you enjoy. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, and you can subscribe, leave us a comment, and leave us a 5-star rating. Our podcasts are worthy of the rating, I promise you. We do great stuff here on the show. My show, The Rewind Show with Kyle and RN, also the Untitled Show occasionally that we do, and we do random stuff here and there. We all work hard and try to make sure we give you the best content. So leave us a comment and leave us a 5-star rating. Thank you so much for your feedback and your support. Guys, today I'm excited to have you. Like I said, we're going to be doing our top 10 favorite UK wrestlers. But before we do that, just to get our creative juices flowing, we're going to do a round of something I love to do on this show, which is called Overrated or Underrated. And since all three of you are my brothers from across the pond in the UK, I have a UK-themed list of 5 things, and you're all going to go around the horn and tell me whether or not you think these are overrated or underrated and why. Number 1, the reputation of the UK Smash Mouth style of wrestling. Is it overrated or is it underrated? Just jump in. Whoever wants to go first.
Probably underrated. It's probably my, I love guys like Danny Burch, like Pete Dunne, Fit Finlay, the guys who will just go out there and just beat the living hell out of each other. I love that style of wrestling. Not all the time. I wouldn't want it to be every single match. But yeah, I don't think we see enough of it. We certainly don't. What do we see of it on WWE main roster or AEW? We don't get much. Much exposure to it in the States. Obviously, we see a lot over here. If you go to local shows, there's a lot of that. Yeah, I'd say it's underrated. It just depends on your taste, really, doesn't it? Subjective.
Yeah, I think I agree with Chris there. I'd say it's underrated as well, because I think a lot of people, if they just took the first look at it, they'd compare it to like Japan's strong style. But I think it is slightly different to that in terms of it's more technical as well, and I think it's done at a slower pace. Whereas Japan, it's kind of all about fighting spirit, isn't it? And I think British is slightly more different to that. So, yeah, I think it's underrated in terms of people maybe over in the States or in Japan, because it isn't seen as much over there. But, yeah, it's great in this country. I think we sort of understand it a little bit more.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. It's underrated for me. The whole style, the British style, like you said, it's technical. It's smash mouth. Especially someone like Regal epitomizes everything to do with the British style. He's hard hitting, technically sound, submission based, and everyone loved watching him. I think we could have done with more of it, especially today. There's a lot of high flying stuff going on. I think it could definitely be used more today.
I will 100% agree it's underrated. Some of my favorites of all time either have done the British Smash style or they've adopted it as part of their routine. The technical, what I love about it is that it's stiff and it makes people rise, because when you get hit in the face, you want to hit back. And a lot of times if you don't register or sell things, you tend to think of what's the next move and what's the next move and what's the next move. Whereas if you just got hit in the face, we're gonna fight, and that's I want to see that in pro wrestling. I think a lot of guys who adopted that. I'll throw names out there like I think even though he's Canadian, but Bret Hart was very stiff and he was very technical with his style. You could easily see him working with the UK. Of course, William Regal, no question whatsoever. Until he went crazy and did what he did. Chris Benoit was a very stiff wrestler who had a lot of technical ability. I would of course throw in there Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. They just beat the living tar out of each other and all of their opponents because they want. Again, when you get into a real fight, your adrenaline gets going. You get focused on, and you do listen to the crowd. But a lot of it also that I've heard from these guys is that they want it to appear as, holy cow, they're really hurting each other. They're really trying to win this match. And we've lost that in wrestling. It's too much about the choreography and the routine and look at this cool thing I can do and look how I can do this and then immediately get up from it in 30 seconds. No, I'd rather you leave bloodied and bruised and I earned this victory. To me, that means more. So, but that's just me. If you're a fan of that other style, nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't look like you earned anything. Next one, we're gonna do the legendary rock and roll group, the Beatles. Underrated or overrated?
Oh, massively overrated. Can't stand them. I am not a music snob. Like I won't be like, oh, what's that crap you're listening to or anything like that. Like everybody likes what they like, and that's fine. For me, man, I just never got the hype. I think, like the battle is the Beatles or Rolling Stones, and it was always Stones for me. I don't know. I just don't enjoy them that much. I just think their songs are fine.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say overrated slightly as well. Definitely, I think in other countries, like I feel like the States make a bigger deal about the Beatles more than we do. Like we're just like, it's not that different to many others. But yeah, I agree with Chris. Never sort of been into their music as much as some others. I think it's kind of just ordinary. They've got some absolute bangers, but yeah, not all that.
Yeah, great songwriters, don't get me wrong. I'm just, I respect that. I respect anybody that writes music or creates music. It cannot be an easy thing to do.
It's not.
It's tough to, you can't really say they're underrated because of, everyone rates them so highly. Slightly overrated maybe in my own personal taste. But for their influence on the music industry, they're one of the biggest bands of all time.
Yeah.
They've influenced so many different styles of music. John Lennon, with his song Imagine, was obviously one of the biggest songs ever. That was obviously on its own, but yeah, so they're not my favourite band personally, but I can respect their impact on the music industry.
Yeah, I feel like they're right where they need to be, and granted, I'm an American, so I don't see them, historically. I can't just walk down the street to Liverpool where they're from like you guys can. So, there's a level of respect that comes from people that and I didn't grow up watching them. I think John Lennon was dead before I was born, so there was there's a level of kind of of awe of who they could have been if you'd seen them live, and that kind of thing. So that puts in with it. But as songwriters, and just as people that said we're going to go beyond our time, or we're going to think 20, 30 years from now, will people care about our music? I can respect them for that. It's definitely a blessing to the music world that these four guys found a way to get together. There's no question about that. It just, do I listen to them every day? Heck no. I don't even listen to them once a week. But when their songs come on, I'm like, hey, there's the Beatles. So, that says something. Next one, NXT UK, overrated or underrated?
Right, I'm going to go in here because I'm a big fan. So I'm going to say massively underrated. I watch it every week. Every week, pretty much, they put on some great matches. Obviously, everyone talks about Walter. Last week, I haven't seen all of this week's one, but last week they had A-Kid versus Ilya Dragunov, and that was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And they seem to do it almost every week. So I think more people should be watching NXT UK. Some great matches, some great characters. Yeah, underrated for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to agree there. I'd say heavily underrated. Probably, like you said, there are some great characters and stuff like that and storylines, but the wrestling is as good as anything else on the planet, to be honest. Like, it's outstanding. Like you said, the work between A-Kid and Dragunov. Just the matches, like when Pete Dunne was down there, you got Tyler Bate in there. It's so good. It's even the women as well, with like Mako Satomura, Kaylee Ray when she was down there. You got Ava Valkyrie. There's so
Ginny.
many talented people. Yeah, Ginny as well. The tag teams are great, and it definitely doesn't get enough praise, I don't think. Sometimes I think that's down to the WWE. Like, they don't really put it out there enough. I know they get like one advertisement now on NXT, but it's your own brand. Like, I think during Crown Jewel they were talking about Doudrop, and I think she's only recently just signed with the WWE. So what are you talking about? She's been here for ages. had great matches.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah,
promote
that is-
it's your own brand. Promote it. So, yeah, underrated.
That reminds me a little bit of what they've done with Xavier Woods winning King of the Ring as well. Like, he's been pushing for that to come back for like a year. He's been saying how desperately he wants to be King of the Ring. Like, mention it. Because not everybody, 2.5 million people whatever watch SmackDown, but not 2.5 million people follow Xavier Woods or follow, you know, the social media channels and all that. Like, make mention of it that you've got this cool ongoing storyline, why it means so much to Woods. Like, tie it in, like you say with Doudrop, tie it in, make people aware that these things are going on. NXT UK is just so consistent for me.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't a bad show. I can't remember the last time they put out a bad episode. Like both of you guys have said, always great matches, great characters. The women are brilliant. There's not much more I can say about it. Massively, massively underrated. WWE they should do a better job of giving it more spotlight, more promotion. I don't know. Could we potentially see it get a TV deal? Maybe one day on like a UK channel. Would it be big enough? Maybe not on like BT Sports, but maybe like BT Sports 3, or you know what I mean, one of the ones that's like Sky Sports 4 and 5 and all that. Maybe that would help. I don't know. Maybe they probably. I don't know if they'd see enough. What's the word I'm looking for?
Exposure.
No, like I don't know if WWE would see enough reward in
enough merit
how
in
much
doing
they
that.
value it.
Yep.
You know?
Some of the guys are starting to come up to the main roster from NXT UK, like slowly. Ridge Holland has just joined SmackDown.
Yeah.
You've got obviously Doudrop. Oh, I know they're not mentioning that, but I'm sure Ridge Holland will be mentioned because he's got the same name as he did.
It's like,
I think they're doing that on purpose.
it's like when Pete Dunne comes up to.
Pete
sorry to
Dunne,
interrupt.
I imagine he'll come up. Kaylee Ray will be up eventually.
Are they gonna say that Pete Dunne was, held the NXT UK title for like 600 odd days?
So.
Is that something they're actually going to talk about?
Yeah,
right.
They've got to, because we've seen him on Raw, haven't we? When he went against Enzo at one time.
Yep.
And they mentioned it then.
Yep.
Yeah.
For the record, King Xavier Woods has 798,000 followers. WWE Universe, follow your king. Follow your king, please. Give that man some love. He's a doctorate in psychology. He's incredibly talented. He's hilarious. His up downtown stuff is must watch. You have to follow the man. Please take care of him. I agree with you guys. It's massively underrated. You guys have thrown out the top probably 5 guys. You've said Walter, of course, the Irish Ace, Jordan Devlin, the current champion. All granted, he's from Russia, but still Ilya Dragunov, Kaylee Ray. Incredible, and a lot of people don't know that Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm, NXT UK is where they were born. These incredible talents that are on the main roster now, they didn't just originate there. And I mean, we make this joke on our show all the time. As of right now, the black and gold does not exist. Only this colorful NXT 2.0 exists in the mind of Vince McMahon because he's got his hands on it. And that's the unfortunate truth. If they don't create you, they don't care. And it's until they put their spin on you, they start to care about you. And to put it in perspective, how they probably feel about NXT UK. Now we know how Shawn and Triple H feel. It's their baby. They're in love with it, and they're gonna do the best to protect it. But here's how Vince feels about it: the NXT UK belt is equal to the North American Championship, and the North American Championship got defended one time in 5 months. That's how they feel about it. So, anyway. Oh, and I'll throw them a little love because we didn't mention them, but Pretty Deadly, one of the best heel tag teams I've ever seen.
They're doing great work.
My gosh, I want to punch those dudes in the face. Oh my gosh. All right, next one. Rest in peace, but one of the biggest legends to ever come out of the UK in wrestling. Tom Billingsley, a.k.a. the Dynamite Kid. Overrated or underrated?
Criminally underrated, and I'd be shocked if he's not on all 3 of our lists. There you go.
There you go.
Enough said. Not much more I can say about that. Criminally underrated. Should
Underrated.
Be
Underrated. Overshadowed sometimes by British Bulldog. David Will Smith, unfairly. He is one of the true pioneers of British wrestling, alongside David Will Smith. The biggest British wrestling tag team of all time, the Bulldogs. Doesn't get enough of a mention. The Dynamite Kid is very underrated.
Aaron?
Yeah, just going to reiterate what they said. Yeah, definitely underrated. I think when people do talk about great British wrestlers, he kind of goes under the radar for some reason. I guess it's just because he wasn't around for too, as long as guys like British Bulldog was. But yeah, massively underrated. Fantastic wrestler. There were guys like Chris Benoit who have talked about his wrestling ability, and he kind of drew inspiration from Dynamite Kids. So yeah, definitely underrated.
I would absolutely agree. He's underrated, and I'm going to just go ahead and give away, because it's my show. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give away one of my honorable mentions is him, and he deserves to be on everybody's must-watch list. If you've never seen the Dynamite Kid wrestle, please go to YouTube and type him in right now and watch him wrestle with the British Bulldogs or by himself. The man was way before his time. He was such an in-ring general at stuff he could do with his body that people today, when you see, I'll throw a name out there, when you see Pac do what he does, Dynamite Kid did it first. That's where a lot of that comes from. So give the man some love and shout him out. And hey, WWE, yes, if he's not, why is he not in the Hall of Fame? Please hurry up and make that happen. He deserves it. And finally, let's end on a laugh. Let's end on a fun note. Trying to make a red guard outside Buckingham Palace break a smile. Overrated or underrated?
I've never done it. I've never tried. I've been, but I've never tried it. I was really young at the time.
Yeah, I think overrated to someone from the UK. I think it's more of a foreign, international type joke.
I hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, overrated for us, but maybe underrated for people outside of the UK.
I say, I think for y'all, wouldn't for y'all be to make them angry, or to try to get them to leave their post or something? So
yeah, it's just to get them to move at all, isn't it? I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So statuesque.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this generation has almost no respect for things like that. I mean, did you guys see the video? I think about a year ago that the tomb from the tomb of the unknown soldier in Washington D.C. That dude like tried to run at it, and that guy had to actually break his formation to tackle the guy. I was like, oh, this is so stupid, absolutely so stupid. Yeah, they're not just actors performing. That's a trained military guy who will kill you, man. He will kill you. So
it's just people doing their jobs, you know what I mean?
That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. All right. Real quick before we go any further in the show, thank y'all for that. I want to also let you guys be aware that you can support our show financially and help us keep creating awesome content like this. Two ways you can do that. First of all, you can go to paypal.me/SmackDrawPod, paypal.me/SmackDrawPod, and you can give us a one-time donation there. If you want to give even more invested and help us on a regular basis, check out our Patreon. We have a Patreon called patreon.com/SmackDrawPodcast, patreon.com/SmackDrawPodcast. And we have 4 subscription tiers: the Untitled tier at $1, the Bammer Slammer tier at $5, the Rewind tier at $10, and the Elite tier at $25 per month. All of these tiers will get you various things. We'll get you shout-outs, sticker packs, exclusive content, a SmackDraw t-shirt, behind-the-scenes access, and even advertising for your brand if you'll go all the way up to that Elite tier. So depending on what tier you get, depends on how much of that stuff you get. But all of the proceeds from our Patreon and our PayPal go to helping us make content on this channel. The more you support us financially, the more we'll create this awesome content for all of you. So we thank you so much again for your support and your feedback, and thank you to all of our Patreons. We love you guys, and we can't wait to talk to you and do more for you here in the future. All right, boys, now let's get into the reason you guys are here. Let's break down our top 10 favorite UK wrestlers of all time, including the country of Ireland. And we're going to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at number 10, and we're going to work our way down to number 1. So in other words, we'll all do our 10, we'll all do our 9, all do our 8, so forth and so on. And then at the very end, if you guys have any honorable mentions, we'll give them some love as well. But I'm very anticipating to hear what you guys have on your list, or who you guys have on your list and why. All right, so first and foremost, Chris, I'm going to start with you. Who is your number 10?
My number 10 is Nick Aldis. So went with Nick because I think he's done an outstanding job of carrying the NWA during difficult times, the pandemic. The company was multiple times on the verge of closing down altogether. Obviously, I know he lost the title recently, but he did a hell of a job as champion. He brought prestige to the title, carried it well. He looks like a champion. He talks and acts like a champion. I had him on the show about 7 or 8 months ago. Just a real gentleman, a really nice guy, really passionate about the NWA and making it feel as important as it used to do. Very gifted in the ring, a brawler, a bit of an all-rounder. I wasn't a fan of his in Impact, I'll be honest, but I think the move away helped to turn him into a star, give him that platform to lead the company. Reminds me a little bit of how Deonna Purrazzo was, nothing in NXT. Gave her the opportunity in Impact, and now she's running the division. So, yeah. Number 10, Nick Aldis.
All right. Mike, who's your number 10?
Number 10, Fit Finlay. One of the
Great pick.
all-time, a great Irish wrestler, hard-hitting, just fantastic to watch as part of King Booker's crew, as he was. Yeah, doesn't get enough credit for what he did in the ring.
No.
Which one of my list is going to be a combination of who I think are the best or the biggest stars. Some of the older guys, I'm not gonna include because I don't know much about them. I've never seen them wrestle, but yeah, that's what a little disclaimer early on. If anyone gets upset if I don't include someone from the 1950s or
it's your list, man. What they said? It's your list.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Fit Finlay, absolute legend.
Great pick. Aaron, who's your number 10?
So my number 10 is Joe Coffey. He's someone who perhaps he isn't very well known in the States, but he's been one of the top stars in NXT UK since it formed as part of the Gallus stable. I'm a big fan of Gallus. I think if you could call up any sort of stable or group or tag team up to the main roster or NXT, put Gallus on there because they know what they're doing. I think I prefer Joe over the other guys. He's just a legitimate badass. Always has really physical matchups. Doesn't matter who the opponent is.
He's a freaking machine.
So Volta, Dragunov, Devlin, anyone. Just great matches. I'd love to see him tangle with guys like Sheamus and Drew as well. I just think he could have a great match with anyone. I love him every time he's on the screen. So he's my number 10.
Awesome. My number 10 might surprise you guys. It's Nikki Cross. I'm a fan. I'm not a huge fan of what she's doing right now, but getting in, I really honestly, she would have just been an honorable mention to me, but I don't know if you guys saw, she did an interview with Ryan Satin from Out of Character, and in that interview, she talked about all the thought process that went into this current almost a superhero gimmick. And I for the first time in all this time, I was like, I knew she was talented in the ring, and I knew she had all this charisma. I didn't know how brilliant she was. She's such a thoughtful, strategic person as well. You could tell that her in-ring psychology, is definitely higher than what it appears to be. Now, granted, I know she has a very polarizing personality. You either love this or you hate it, but she's doing her best to get it over, and she is always 100% in the ring. No matter who her partner is or who she's across the ring from, she makes you care about her. And that's something that I've always, loved about wrestlers. Like my favorite two wrestlers in terms of selling are Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express and Shawn Michaels. They made you cheer for them no matter who was across the ring. Even if Shawn Michaels was a heel, for some reason, when the other guy was beating him down, you wanted to go, don't hurt him too much. Because I don't know. Shawn just had that knack of making you care, and Nikki Cross has that. She just makes people care about her in the ring. So I hope and pray that one championship reign she had is not her last. I really hope she gets a few more. And as she evolves and grows and changes, show us what she can really do, especially across the ring from some really great opponents. I think Charlotte Flair's the best match she's ever had, but she's got plenty more that could easily come in the near future. All right. Number 9, Mike, this time we're going to start with you. Who's your number 9?
Okay. So, number 9, I have gone with Paige.
Okay. The anti-diva.
That's it. First ever NXT Women's Champion. The youngest ever Divas Champion. true pioneer for British women's wrestling. You know, part of the a wrestling family. Had to retire at 25 years old, which is an absolute tragedy. I'm hoping she can make a comeback one day.
I have a feeling we're about to see her. I have a feeling we're about to see her.
And hopefully we see her again, I'm sure in a WWE ring or wherever she may go. Do her thing again, because such a promising career cut far too short.
But say, are y'all following the breadcrumbs? She's teasing that possibly the Rumble. That's where she's gonna. I mean, it occurred to me when I was like, okay, so Edge came back, and then Christian came back. Who else is out there that's had this? Oh, Paige can come back. Surely she called them and said, "What did y'all do?" And they said, "Here's what we did." So I please, if there's any. If God's a pro wrestling fan, he loves Paige. Please let her come back. She is not done. She has plenty more history that she needs to make. Aaron,
if she comes back to Rumble, she'll get the pop of the night. She'll get the pop of the night.
Hands down. There'll be people weeping all over the building if they see her. Absolutely. All right, Aaron, you're number 9.
So my number 9 is Zach Gibson, who's currently on NXT as part of the Grizzled Young Veterans.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Gibson's wrestling ability. Along with James Drake, I think the Grizzled Young Veterans are one of the best tag teams in the world.
Soon to be recognized.
That's the one. They're just so fundamentally sound. I feel like they kind of took off where the Revival left off in NXT. They've kind of taken their place.
That's a great take. That's a great take.
Yeah. Just because, in terms of your traditional tag team wrestling, the guys are just sort of stick to the rules. They use classic tag team psychology. If you watch these guys, they do it. They're phenomenal. But I think what I like the most about Gibson is his mic work. As Bama just said there, when he just comes out and he just cuts those traditionally heel promos, they're just fantastic. And I think he doesn't get enough credit because a lot of the guys from the UK, such as Pete Dunne's, they can cut a promo, but in the States it does sometimes sound a little bit awkward. But Gibson, he's just bought it over from the UK to the US, and it's just a great promo. So big fan of Zach Gibson.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm a huge fan of GYV. I watched. I'm not a huge NXT UK fan, but only because of the timing. It falls in the middle. It falls in a time in the week where I just forget about it, unfortunately. Yeah. And but when I do go back and watch bits and clips of it, and when I did see the Worlds Collide pay-per-view 2 years ago, and my gosh, that 4-way ladder match they had, GYV stole the show. That was an incredible match, and I was like, who the heck are these guys? I got to pay more attention to them. And then when they showed up on NXT, I'm like, thank God we got a tag team that's going to smash some heads around. This is going to be so much fun. And they are so good. And I'll say this.
Belts on them.
Yeah, and I did not care for MSK until they got in the ring with GYV. GYV brought that viciousness out of them, and that's where they need to stay. And I hope those guys have a best of 7 series, actually, because that'll be fun. All right, my number 9 is going to shock people only because of how low he is on my list, but you'll see when I get up higher. But my number 9, Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. I'm a fan. I'm right now actually watching. Here's the reason why. I grew up watching WCW because I'm in Alabama and Atlanta's right down the road. So all these Southern guys were on the show, and I just knew more of them. Plus Sting, Luger, Diamond Dallas Page, the NWO. All that, it just caught my eye more. And growing up the way I did, the WWF was also at a weird time, and it was a little more of an edgy show for me at my age. And so my mom and dad didn't let me watch that. But WCW was a little more clean, so I was able to watch that. But going back now, I'm right now on the Peacock Network going back and watching Monday Night Raw. I started in 1995. I just crossed into 1997. And so I'm watching the heyday of the British Bulldog on Monday Night Raw. And oh my gosh, this dude was so freaking talented. His agility for a bodybuilder, his ability to sell and register, his ability to use his power in a way where it looked effortless, where you had no clue how strong this guy really is until he would pick up a Vader with ease or body slam the Undertaker with ease. And you're just like, holy cow, this dude's so talented and so strong. But then he'd do a backflip out of nowhere or do this front handspring thing, and you're just like, dadgummit, this dude's a jack of all trades. And my gosh, I'm a fan. I wish he had way more of a time. I'm hoping that I'm glad he finally made it into the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be there. And, props to his son who's trying to carry on his legacy in his own way. But yeah, the legend of the British Bulldog will loom forever. And I hope and pray that all you up-and-coming muscle pro wrestlers, go back and give Davey Boy Smith a look and incorporate a lot of what he does in your act. I promise you, it'll only make you better because he was that good at what he did. So, British Bulldog's my number 9. Chris, your number 9, sir.
A bit of a contentious one. Will Ospreay.
Okay.
So, I mean, what can be said about Ospreay that hasn't already been said? Simply one of the best wrestlers in the world today.
You either love him or you hate him.
Yeah, you love him or you hate him. He'd be higher in my list if I watched more NJPW. I'll be honest, I don't get to watch it very often, but whenever I know that he's on or he's main eventing or whatever, I'll make sure to check out that match. Not too many non-Japanese wrestlers make it as huge stars in Japan. Obviously, Kenny Omega. Not many of them are deemed big enough to lead the promotion, but Ospreay has been, rightly so. Like I said, nothing he can't do in the ring. He's pretty decent on the mic. I think a lot of that, though, is maybe hidden by the fact he's in Japan, so he doesn't need to be the best talker, particularly. Obviously, he's had some personal issues, which is why I said he's a bit contentious. That might have made some people sour on him. But I think he could be a top guy anywhere in the world, any of the top promotions. So yeah, Will Ospreay.
Chris, who has more potential to be a worldwide star, Ospreay or Jay White?
Jay White.
I think so too.
I think Jay White because people already know the name more, and we've already seen him make appearances in the US, like in AEW and that. I think he's just got. Just something a bit different about Jay White, a bit more of an attitude. Obviously, as much as I like Will Ospreay, there are other similar wrestlers to him. I don't think there's many like Jay White, especially with that like mean streak that he has. Yeah, Jay White. I think Jay White, if he eventually comes over permanently, could be a huge megastar, bigger than Kenny.
I'm going to throw this out there. As much as I love the Prince Finn Balor, I think Jay White's the best leader of the Bullet Club.
It's a tough one.
He lives up to his name. He's got a cutthroat switchblade attitude. Yeah, you don't want to cross that guy. So I just feel like that fits the persona of the Bullet Club more than the other guys did. So
I've always thought like if the four ever meet in a match, I've always thought that Jay White should win it for sure. I'm not sure if he's the best, but I definitely think he would have to win a match if there ever was one. But that's just fantasy booking, so.
Yeah, I understand. I just AJ didn't make sense to me because I'm like, how am I supposed to hate you? You're too good. I hate Kenny Omega for a lot of reasons, but Kenny Omega is too much of a showman to be, a Godfather-like appearance. But when you look at Jay White, he just gives you that look of, you say one more word, I'm going to cripple you right here, right now. To me, that just fits the Bullet Club so much more than. So yeah. I would go him, and then slightly below him go Finn Balor. They both have that edge to them. So 100%. All right, let's move now into our number 8, and this time, Aaron, you're going to start. Who's your number 8?
So my number 8 is Pete Dunne. I didn't see too much of him before the first NXT UK tournament. I knew he had sort of been about in sort of Progress and Rev Pro and was one of sort of the main guys. But yeah, as soon as I saw him compete in that tournament, I just gravitated towards him. Obviously, I wasn't the only one. I think Triple H obviously liked him because they had a little bit of interaction. And even though he didn't win the tournament, I thought he was the standout. Obviously, this makes sense because he won the title. He won the UK title soon after, and he just had that massive, I think I've got written down 685 days, which is pretty crazy in that sort of WWE environment. I love his intensity, his no nonsense attitude. Obviously earlier we talked about your sort of British smash mouth style of wrestling, and I feel like Pete Dunne he is one of the best examples of that style, British wrestling, that he's taken over to America. Yeah, so I'd have to go for Pete Dunne. My
number 8 on my list, Pete Dunne. Great minds think alike, Aaron. I 100% agree. Yeah, the UK reign he had was historic. until Walter broke it and held it for 878 days, I think it was. I'm trying to remember the exact number. But Pete Dunne is such a throwback. He's such a... It's weird. He's got a little bit of Finley in him, but he's also got a little bit of Harley Race. He just carries himself as a dude. Just don't cross me, or I'm gonna break every bone in your body. He's just got that. He's got that rough and tough mentality. I can't believe he's as good as he is for the age he is. He's such a kid, and yet he's so flawless. When probably the best matches I've seen. Anytime he and Finn Balor lock up, it's a classic. But when he and Kyle O'Reilly had that one-on-one, I'm like, fight forever. My gosh, these two could go all night long. It was so good. And he sells his in-ring IQ of being knowledgeable of the anatomy of the human body and how you don't have to be quick to make a match look good. He can slow it down and methodically work on you, but then at the same time, he can turn it up and go fast real quick if he needs to. He's so underrated, and I really, as much as I think he would do great on the main roster, I feel like they need him to teach these kids how to be tough. I feel like they need him to knock some heads around and make them go, hey, you want to make it in this business? You got to be willing to let me beat the crap out of you. So I just feel like that, when it's all said and done, I'll put it this way, he might be a better agent and a better coach than he ever will be a wrestler. I just think that. I think he could easily instill a lot of that in some of these guys. But I will say this, I do hope he eventually does go to the main roster. Him and Sheamus, him and Drew McIntyre. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo, boy. Give it all day. Give it all day. That would be fun. Chris, you're number 8, sir.
Okay, so I had to change this around a little bit last night because you told us that we could have Irish wrestlers in there. Should be higher on my list. One of my favourite wrestlers of all time is Sheamus. Sheamus is my number 8. This is going to sound like a bit of a mad statement, a bit of a hot take, but I think he's one of the all-time greats. I think he is
Agreed.
criminally underrated. I don't think people take enough time to think about everything that he's accomplished.
Yes.
I had to make some notes here. The third shortest time to win the WWE title after debuting, 166 days. King of the Ring, Royal Rumble winner, Money in the Bank winner, 3-time WWE champion, World Heavyweight champion, 3-time US champion, 5-time tag team champions.
Yep.
As one of the best tag teams of the last decade, alongside Cesaro.
The Bar.
Just needs the Intercontinental title. It looked like he was going to win it. Was it early this year or sort of like middle of last year? I think it was.
Yeah.
WrestleMania, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, he deserves it. He had one of this year's best feuds with Drew, just beating the crap out of each other, like we keep saying, that smash mouth, rough shot sort of style. He can still go in the ring. He's just had a great feud with Damian Priest. He's come back from bad injuries, and whenever he's come back even better. Yeah, I think like I say, it's people are probably going to think, oh, what, really one of the best of all time? But when you, like I say, when you take a step back and really think about everything he's accomplished, there aren't many that have accomplished as many as Sheamus.
No,
he's been on the main roster for, I think it was 2009. Yeah, 2009. Done some stuff in FCW and all that. But he's been on the main roster for 12 years. He's always been pretty much near or around the top of the card, hasn't he? He's never felt unimportant. When Sheamus comes out, you're like, oh shit, Sheamus.
Yep.
He could be away from a title scene for 6 months, put him back in it, and you're like, yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, exactly.
He's believable. He's a bit of a badass. Yeah, man, I love Sheamus so much.
Awesome. Mike, you're number 8, sir.
Okay, let me just say, I like how these lists, for the most part, are very different. All of our lists, shows how objective and how opinions matter in pro wrestling. And as for my number 8, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett, my number 8.
Bad news.
Bad news, Barrett. Wade Barrett, the man who should have been the first ever British WWE champion.
Wow.
He was very, very, very close. I believe at one point he was going to beat Randy Orton for that title. Some incredible feuds, notably with John Cena as well. Leader of Nexus. It's a shame he left when he did, because I think he could have had a longer career with WWE, but I think he was on the slide maybe when he left. But for a time there, he was right at the top of the card. A very good commentator now as well. I hope one day, if it lines up again, to see him come back, maybe have a big dream match with Drew McIntyre or Sheamus or something like that. But yeah, Wade Barrett, number 8.
Okay, correct me. I got out of wrestling like after 2011 through like 2018. Did he and Drew ever fight?
No, I don't believe so.
I don't think so. No.
He and Sheamus have, right?
It would have been good though.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheamus.
Drew, because of the timing of it, Drew was away for such a long time, wasn't he?
Right.
During that period.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure I read that up until almost the last minute, he was going to beat Randy Orton for the WWE title, and then something switched, and it never happened for him again. So it was a real shame, because we didn't get the first British champion until quite a bit later.
I was about to say, yeah. Who was, because Drew was the first Scottish champion. So who was the first English champion?
There hasn't been an English champion.
There hasn't been one. That's a travesty.
Drew, Scotland is part of Britain, so Drew is the first British champion now.
But born in England, nobody.
No,
it's
my God.
Not for the males.
Oh my God.
Maybe Pete Dunne one day.
It's hard to picture who it's ever going to be. I don't know.
Wow. Well,
Pete Dunne really is the closest of everyone, really, isn't he?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Unless somebody from other promotions comes over and gives it a shot. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to move into our number 7. And I'm going to start this round number 7. My name is Finlay, and I love to fight. I love Fit Finlay. I loved him even when he was in WCW. I could just immediately tell there's something different about this guy. He doesn't wrestle the way a lot of these other guys wrestle. He seems like a guy that just loves to hit people in the mouth. And then when he came over to SmackDown and wrestled for the WWE, I hated him. I hated him because he was so good at getting heat. He was so good at making you love the other guy that was across the ring from him. That's a lost art, and he was good at it. And then later, I grew to love him because he was one of the few guys that was still wrestling that way. He was one of the few guys I'm like, yeah, I don't care if the dude's 2.5 feet taller than him, or if the dude's faster than him, or if the dude's, smaller than him, whatever. Finley's going to have a chance in this match because he's Fit Finley. So I just always felt that about him. He's just such a great wrestler. And I honestly think in the pandemic era, I know they had to do some of the things they had to do, but letting him go was one of the biggest mistakes they made. It was one of the absolute biggest mistakes they made because the work he did, granted, all the in-ring work he's done, but the work he did, especially for the women, to get them tough and thinking in-ring psychology and how to sell and how to make their moves look snug and how to put a match together. Fit Finlay is a brilliant mind, and I really hope that WWE is at least utilizing him in some capacity, at least part-time. If not, if you're a wrestling promotion out there, you better snatch this guy up now if he's available, because he will do great work for you.
I think he's back.
Oh, did they officially bring him back?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's back. I said to you before, haven't I? It's crazy that when they released him, AEW didn't throw all the money in the world at him to bring him in.
Especially for their women's division. They needed him.
Yeah.
They needed
That's
him.
What I mean, sort out their women's division.
I hope he is back. The only reason I say this is because when they have any kind of agents step out or people step out, he never comes to the ring. I see Jamie Noble all the time. I see Shane Helms all the time. I see all these other guys. I never see him anymore. So I just didn't know if he was still back there or not. But no, I will say this. As much as we give credit to Becky Lynch for being as smart as she is, the real architect of the man is Fit Finlay. That's the real architect. He created that character with her, and his fingerprints are all over it. And I just really, so I have a big in-debt gratitude to that. Chris, you're number 7, sir.
So this is where we're going to start crossing over with each other a little bit, I think,
okay.
And picking the same things we've already picked. I haven't got much to add on this one, but my number 7 is Paige. Everyone talks about the women's evolution, and how it was started by the 4 horsewomen, but Paige played a huge part in the movement. Anti-Diva was something that women's wrestling desperately needed. She had a great feud with AJ Lee. She was massively over. As Mike said, such a shame it was taken away from her so young. She was a great general manager as well on SmackDown. I think people forget that. I really hope she comes back in January like she's been teasing. I've not got much more to say about that.
Great
Fighting
pick.
with My Family is a great film as well.
Great pick. Absolutely. Great pick. All right. Mike, you're number 7, sir.
Okay, so some we've already discussed before the list started. Dynamite Kid.
There you go. There you go.
You know, he's one of the biggest legends in British wrestling history. A great tag team with Davey Boy Smith, a pioneer. Like we've said, people like Pac, Pete Dunne, other British wrestlers. There's a lot of Dynamite Kid in them. And taken from us too young, of course. But one of the biggest legends to come from the UK. Dynamite Kid.
100%. Could not agree more. Aaron, you're number 7, sir.
So mine is also Paige, same as Chris.
There you go.
There
you go.
I got to show some love for the hometown hero because obviously Paige and the Knight family come from Norwich, so love it. But I actually think that Paige's impact is actually quite underrated on the business because I feel like if it wasn't for her introduction, I don't feel people like Ruby Riott or Rhea Ripley, the ones with kind of alternative character and look, would be so prevalent in the WWE without Paige, who was just at the time was just so different from the norm. I think at the time they had like Emma and Summer Rae, the 4 horsewomen were coming up, and she was just something so different. So and she was great in the ring, very capable wrestler, had great charisma. I love her entrance theme as well. It's just like gets you in the mood. Like we said earlier, if she does show up at the Royal Rumble, how big that pop's going to be. But if I hear that entrance music, I'm going to go mental. So, Paige number 7.
Will she get a bigger pop than Edge did?
No.
Nope. I don't think so.
Not. Maybe over here, but
Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
It depends if there's any other surprises, really, doesn't it? Because Edge was like the surprise.
Yeah.
Paige would have to be the surprise. She'd get a big pop, but
and maybe it's just her youthfulness, but Paige, if you're considering this, don't let us know you're considering this. Make it shock us. Edge told no one, like 2 people. That's it. His wife, even to the last day, was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" So just don't tell us. Don't tell us. Surprise us. So
I think Daniel Bryan just got leaked, didn't it, before he was which upset me because I was shocked when I saw it. I didn't believe it was true.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. All right, we're going into round number 6 now. Chris, we're back to starting with you. Round number 6, who is it?
Yeah, it's just another one that's been recently mentioned, Finlay, whether it was in Booker's Court as Hornswoggle's dad, the road agent who allowed Becky to enter the 2019 Rumble, the Belfast Bruiser, Fit Finlay, whatever it was. He held over 20 titles around the world during his career. WCW World TV Champ, WWE United States Champ. Like we said, though, the most important thing that he's done, the biggest contribution, is having a huge hand in helping the women to reach main event status. Unsung hero of the women's evolution.
Yes.
Loads of women's wrestlers have credited him with helping their careers. Victoria, Sasha Banks, they've both come out and said how important he was to them. A mean wrestler in the ring, exemplifying the British wrestling style.
Yep.
Not much more I can add to that. Big fan of Finlay. Like you, man, I hated him. He was just so mean and horrible and nasty, and it was brilliant.
It was great. 100%. Mike, you're number 6, sir.
Okay, narrowly missing out on my top 5. Finn Balor.
Wow,
First
okay.
Universal Champion. Probably the best NXT superstar of all time, for my money, because he had 2 incredible runs. Not just one, but 2. No one else has done that.
Okay. I will say this. I will put him and Adam Cole neck and neck. 100%.
That's a whole other episode.
That is a whole other episode for sure.
Just say because his first run was so good, and then his second run was possibly even better.
Yeah,
Finn Balor.
Yeah.
First ever Universal Champion. It was a shame his reign was only one day. I do think he's on to big things now. Coming off of his feud with Roman, going on to Raw, possibly, if rumors are correct, taking that Drew McIntyre spot.
Yeah.
Raw, which would be huge for him. When it's all set, Finn Balor is the guy who, I think it was mentioned about Will Ospreay earlier, someone who made it big in Japan as a foreigner. Finn Balor did that. He was one of the biggest stars in Japan. The leader of the Bullet Club, as we've touched on. So Finn Balor for me, it was tough not putting him higher, but I just couldn't. But yeah, Finn Balor, number 6.
Hey, he's on your list. If he wasn't, I'd be a little upset. He's on your list. So absolutely. All right. Aaron, you're number 6, sir.
So my number 6 is the British Bulldog.
There it is.
Some people might think that should be higher, but for me,
you put him higher. You put him higher than me, so respect.
The thing is, I might be younger than a lot of you guys, so I needed to go back in time to watch his stuff. So yeah, I was quite young, but going back and watching like the early 90s, late 80s, it's just so amazing to have a British wrestler among like some of these guys that to this day we're like, these guys are just larger than life people.
100%.
British Bulldog was one of them. And it's just great. Yeah, he was just capable of being in the main event scene as well. I always think it's such a shame that he did get kind of lost when the Attitude Era was born.
Yeah,
I didn't really know what to do with him, which is such a shame because the guy is just so talented. When we talk about guys like Bret Hart, Shawn
that
Michaels,
is such a great take, man. If anybody needed a character change that could have had an attitude, Bulldog could have. That's a great take, man. You should.
I always think like the biggest. Oh no, sorry, man.
No. I'm saying you should do an episode on that. That would be a great take. I love that.
It's not just that. I feel like a lot of people do talk about the great things that come out of the Attitude Era, but it harmed guys like Bulldog and Owen Hart massively.
Yeah.
And these guys are fantastic technical wrestlers. And we were just, he had great matches. Obviously, the most famous one, which is probably the Wembley Stadium in 1992 at SummerSlam. Incredible match. If you haven't seen it, go and watch this match. It's so good. So yeah, Bulldog would be my number 6.
Great choice, man. Great choice. My number 6, who honestly I think is more over now than he's ever been in his whole career, William Regal. William Regal, another guy I hated. I hated the blue blood attitude. I hated his style because it was like, does he even care that he's in there? It's just he has such a held back, only move when I need to, only do this when I need to. And then as I got older, I'm like, wait a second, he's actually smart. He's brilliant. He's making them come to him, and then when they do, they're going to regret they did. He's so in-ring savvy. His footwork, his technical ability. When he hits you in the face, he hits you in the face. It was such such an underrated wrestler. Some of the best, most criminally underrated matches. Like the match he had at like WrestleMania 17, where they just threw him in there with was it Chris Jericho? I think that he had the match with, and everybody's like, oh, Chris Jericho, William Regal, that's a snoozer. No, it wasn't. It was like a dark horse. It was such a great match. Everything he's done, and now being the man at NXT, just every time he's on screen, everybody cheers because he's earned so much respect. And I mean, come on, every time this time of year, everybody is waiting for him to go, War Games. we're just waiting, and I'm hoping that Vince sees the merit in that. And I hope they keep the War Games pay-per-view because nobody sells it more than Regal. And my gosh, I'm looking forward to the more work he's done. He's one of the masterminds of NXT UK, and he's, of course, one of the masterminds behind NXT. He gets it. He and Triple H have a very similar vision. He's one of Triple H's mentors. So you can just tell there's a kinship and a love there that only William Regal can bring to the program. So I'm so thankful for him, and he's definitely earning that spot in my top 10 at my number 6. All right, now we're going to go to our number 5. Mike, we're back to you. Who's your number 5, sir?
My number 5 is William Regal.
There we go. Keep the party going.
There we go. You said a lot, incredible wrestler, William Regal. One of the greatest British wrestlers to ever do it. Technically, so sound, hard hitting. What I will say about him as well, a very underrated comedic wrestler.
Yes.
William.
Yes.
So funny. Things that he used to do with, again with Finlay and Booker T. The Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. When he joined that, the way he sold that. A guy that you could hate, a guy that you could laugh at hysterically.
Yeah.
A guy that could do everything. And
100%.
a guy who is now, as you said, as over as he ever has been as the NXT general manager. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Everyone used to hate him, and now he's turned that hate into respect and that respect into love. Yeah. Let's hope we hear War Games very soon.
Yes, I really hope we do.
Top 5.
Surely
My
they will.
only concern about War Games this year is who the hell goes in it. Because there's not much going on, is there?
Okay. So
There's not much going on in terms of getting
We touched on this already in the Chris, didn't we? On the NXT.
We spoke about it, yeah.
We did.
I mean, it'll be teams that kind of make shift and come together. Now for the women, there are teams forming.
There are.
I mean, you got Toxic Attraction, so that'll be 3. I would say, well, Candace can't because she's pregnant, but Indy and what's her partner's name?
Persia?
Okay, Portia. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's possible. I agree, but I think that they're going to probably make Survivor Series a little bit more of a focus, but maybe they'll do it in December because there's no December pay-per-view. Maybe War Games will be it.
Yeah.
So
I think it should have been Legado versus Hero.
Yeah.
Just make it like a mixed.
Yeah.
That just made so much sense to me. But
yeah,
There's
that's a good point.
We said, didn't we, Mike? There's only Diamond Mine, really. At the
Yeah.
moment.
They'll go in. They'll go in. Yep.
It all depends. They go
Think about
against
what the
the
Street
Street
Brothers can do in War Games. I love those two guys.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Aaron, you're number 5, sir. I mean,
okay, so my number 5 is Drew McIntyre. I was so glad when they brought this guy back to the WWE because I did really enjoy his work as the Chosen One when he first came to WWE. I think a lot of people thought he was going to go a lot further than he did, but unfortunately 3MB happened. Wasn't as much of a fan of that. But man, when this guy came back and when he was sort of, touring over the UK and was in Impact, he was just a different animal. The guy just doubled in size. And Chris said about Sheamus earlier, I've always felt Drew is still underrated. I think he's kind of overhated. They're just complete wrestlers. These guys, they're so physical. They make it look real.
right.
I think his selling work is one of the best in the WWE at the moment. I think it's so good. Doesn't get talked about enough. Pretty good on the mic. I know people aren't liking his sort of historical Scottish sort of promos at the moment, but yeah, the guy he's just if you're going to create a wrestler, Drew McIntyre is one of those sort of guys. Just a great guy. He's great all rounder, to be honest. And I mean, I would love to see him go back to the Scottish psychopath kind of character, where he was a bit more of a tweener.
Yeah, for sure.
I can see why they're keeping him as the Warrior because at the end of the day, he is a pretty good baby face.
He's a great one. You're right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, Drew would be my number 5.
100%. Great choice for number 5. And we'll talk. I'm sure one or two of us are going to talk a lot more about Drew in the near future. My number 5. Oh my gosh, this dude has captured me. He's definitely the most recent guy on my list, I think. My number 5, the national treasure, Nick Aldis. I am a fan. First of all, he's married to Nikki James. That helps. But secondly, the dude is just such a great champion. He's a great wrestler. He's such a respectful man. Every interview I've ever listened to him do, you can just tell he loves this business. He loves the history. He loves the in-ring work. He loves the psychology. He loves making it look as real as it possibly can be, making it a fight. He loves everything that makes this business what it is and has made it last for as long as it has. Nick Aldis wants that banner to be woven. There have only been 5 NWA champions who have been trusted to hold that 10 pounds of gold more than 1,000 days. Nick Aldis is one of them. He's in the same breath with Luthez and Gene Knitsky. That's how much this guy is respected. I appreciate this guy so much, and I will say that, and I will say this: as much as I'm supposed to hate him, it's so hard for me to. When you know all this stuff you know about him and how hard of a man he works, and the fact that I'll also say this: no disrespect to the world titles that are in circulation, but in my opinion, if you're a true world champion, you defend that title around the world. And Nick Aldis does that. When he was world champion, he defended that title literally all over the world because he understood the prestige of that. It's the same thing Ric Flair did. Harley Race, Luthez, they traveled the world and defended the 10 pounds of gold. And Nick Aldis said, if I'm going to defend the title, I'm going to do it anywhere and everywhere. Come all who want a shot at this title, no matter where you are, I'll fly and I'll fight you. And I just respect that about Nick Aldis. And last thing, he's got my favorite submission finisher of all time, the Cloverleaf, and I love the way he does it. I love the way he does that Cloverleaf. It looks so painful when he puts that thing on. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. All right, Nick Aldis is my number 5. Now let's go to our number 4. Aaron, we're up to you, sir. Who is your number 4?
I've not done my number 5 yet.
Chris, I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
There's not much I can add, to be honest, though. It's the Dynamite Kid.
Go ahead.
As we've all covered him pretty much, haven't we? One of the best tag teams of the era with British Bulldog. He was great as an individual as well. Never really got much of a singles career in WWE.
Yeah.
I know I said before that I've not watched much Japanese wrestling, but he had a match in '83 against Tiger Mask, which is widely considered by a lot of people as one of, if not the best wrestling match of all time. If you've not seen that, that's worth checking out. Shame he didn't accomplish more in WWE. Injuries were a big factor in that. His style was exciting. He could do a little bit of everything. Bit of a brawler, bit of a technician, bit of a high flyer. I would compare him in those aspects to a bit of a Shawn Michaels. Maybe I just think he didn't have the character and the charisma of a Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just purely based on talent, he's possibly the greatest British wrestler in WWE history, certainly. Not much longevity, not many accomplishments. If he stayed healthy and if he stayed clean, there's no telling what he might have accomplished.
Wow, such a good point. Such a good point.
You know.
Okay. My humble apologies, Chris. I've got so many things swirling in my screen in front of me, so I'm trying to make sure I keep everything straight. But now we're finally to our number 4. Aaron, now let's start with you. Who's your number 4, sir?
Okay, so this might be a controversial choice, but my number 4 is Will Ospreay. I know some people have sort of soured on him lately, but I think for me, I can sort of separate the art from the artist. So, you know, I love this guy. I think he's easily one of, if not the best high flyer in the world. I think, you know, everyone sort of knows that about him. But I think what has separated Will, what makes him sort of higher up the card in his more recent years, when he's turned heel and he's obviously formed the United Empire in New Japan, his character work has just gotten so much better. His mic work still needs improving upon, but I think it has improved tenfold. And it's just his intensity in matches has improved and his psychology.
How old is Will Ospreay? Do you know?
Probably late 20s, I would have thought, early 30s. I'm not too sure on that one.
Okay.
But
I'm going to Google it.
I think, yeah. I think one of his biggest criticisms with Will Ospreay was his psychology. You know,
28.
I think a lot of people.
20. Yeah, he's got time. He'll get better in it. He'll get better.
Exactly, man. He's considered one of the best wrestlers in the world at 28 years old.
Wow.
And a lot of people did consider him as a spot monkey, but ever since he's turned heel, his psychology has just gotten so much better. If you watch the latest Wrestle Kingdom, he had a match with Okada, and the story of that match was fantastic. Selling has just gotten so much better. Yeah, I basically whenever this guy wrestles, I'm gonna watch it because I know it's gonna be a fantastic match. This year he's had one of the matches of the year with Shingo Takagi. So yeah, Will Ospreay's my number 4.
Do you think he could ever achieve AJ Styles fandom?
In New Japan.
Or just worldwide?
Or just worldwide.
When I watch him wrestle, I think AJ Styles. He's got a lot of AJ in him. So
yeah, in New Japan, I think he's going to be bigger because I don't think he's going to leave New Japan. Worldwide, he would have to come to the US, I think, to do that.
I agree.
If not, AJ will always be the biggest star. But
yeah,
yeah,
I agree. All right, my number 4. Hey fella, it's Sheamus. Oh my gosh. Deez took all my notes. Sheamus is criminally underrated. Sheamus is such a diamond in the world of wrestling. He is such a brilliant mind. He was doing things before other people knew how to do them. He created his character before he even had his first match on a promotion. Well, he was just doing these indie spot shows here and there, trying to wrestle anywhere he could. The whole time he was creating my character and where I come from and why I fight the way I do and everything. And then when he got his WWE tryout at the UK promotion, he handed them the script and the video clips, and he had his own website at that time. He handed all of it to him and said, "This is who I am." And so they had no problem creating the Sheamus character because they already gave him everything. Sheamus is such a brilliant guy. He is stiff as heck. When he hits, he hits. There's been so many stories from guys like Mark Henry. Mark Henry said, every match I had with Sheamus, I needed 2 days off after it because he beat the crap out of me. Sheamus is just such a machine. I agree with you, Chris. When he's in the main event title picture, it just looks right. He deserves to be there. Yeah. He deserves to be there. And he's back on SmackDown now. I'm so thankful they put him back on SmackDown because, like you said, the one title that's eluded him is that Intercontinental Championship. This year, 2022, let Sheamus win that title. Because I really believe, just like he kind of did with the U.S. title, where he had a little bit of an open challenge there for about 2 months. Sheamus with the IC title open challenge for 5 to 6 months, bring it on. Bring it on. I would love to see Sheamus mix it up with some of these younger guys. Sheamus and Top Dollar, Sheamus and Swerve Scott, Sheamus and fill in the blank. Any of these young guys that are coming up that need somebody to knock them around a little bit and toughen them up, Sheamus can do that. And so yeah, I'm a huge fan of him. Love his work. All right, number 4, Chris, who you got?
The British Bulldog. I think I've got him the highest on the list so far, haven't I? There's not much else I can add. The best known, most well-known British wrestler of all time. Had it all, was a part of the company like 4 different times. Obviously never became world champion, should have become world champion. I always really liked the dynamic of him and Dynamite Kid because they were the opposites of each other, weren't they? He was the powerhouse. Dynamite Kid could do everything else, and he could do all the high flying. Right. I think they meshed really well together. I'm really struggling. The match in '92 against Bret and Wembley was incredible. One of the best matches ever.
Great match.
Huge, like one of the greatest ovations you'll ever hear. One of the greatest pops you'll ever hear. I'm a little bit.
That's all right.
Stumped, to be honest.
Did you like his tag team with Owen Hart?
I don't really remember much of it, to be honest. I'm a little bit like Aaron. I'm 32, so I've had to go back and watch quite a bit of stuff.
I'm in the middle of it right now, watching Peacock, which is why they were tag team champions for about 6 months, so they had a pretty good run.
First ever European champion as well.
I think so. Yeah,
is forgotten about as well. One of the most impressive physical. I think if he'd burst onto the scene in WWF, WWE, whatever, maybe like 2 or 3 years earlier, he would have been the top guy in the company. I think he was just there at a difficult time with someone like Bret Hart, someone like Shawn Michaels already up there and established and be more charismatic than he is, and the role that someone like Michaels played backstage and how much power and how much pull and all that kind of stuff that was going on politically. If you'd have put him in there maybe a year and a half, 2 years earlier, he would have been the top dog.
Yeah, I agree. So is that official? All 4 of us have the Bulldog?
Yeah. I think we have, haven't we?
All right. Yeah. There we go. That says something. If all 4 of us put him on our list, that says something. Awesome. All right, Mike, you're number 4.
Well, I haven't said him yet, but now I will. British Bulldog.
There we go. Now we all four have him.
It's not a lot to add. I'm younger as well. When he had that match with Brett, I was only 1 in '92, so I'm 30. But what I want to say, the lasting impact that match has had to this day, it's the biggest match that's ever happened, possibly the biggest match to ever happen in the UK. Because of who it involved. Bret Hart, the British Bulldog, was a hero in the UK at that time.
And it's been 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years, and people still think about it. People still talk about it because it was that big. Huge. He's a huge star. If he was, if things were better for him, personal issues and drug issues aside, I think he would have had a longer career, a more successful career, a world champion. He is one of the biggest legends to come out of the UK, the British Bulldog. What more can you say?
I 100% agree. Hey, Vince, Royal Rumble or SummerSlam, sell out that O2 Arena, please. Please sell out that O2 Arena. They deserve it. They deserve it. Get back over there. They deserve it. Please.
Please give us a Royal Rumble.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that.
Give us anything. Give us fucking... Give us Great Balls of Fire. Give us Roadblock, whatever. Just give us something. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I see.
Great Balls of Fire was good.
Is it true the last major pay-per-view y'all had was like Insurrection?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yeah, we gotta get over there. Good grief. We gotta get over there. All right. I think that's all of our number 4. Number 3. Who started number 4? Oh, Aaron started number 4. So number 3 starts with me. Number 3. My number 3 is somebody that I did not care whatsoever about until 2018, and now I am 100% in love with this guy, Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, I always knew how talented he was, even when he was the chosen one back in 2011 or 10, 11. I always knew how talented he was. But the time away was desperately needed. He found himself. He found 3 or 4 new gears he knew how to shift into. When he brought that stuff back to NXT and then came back up to the main roster, there was something different in his eyes. When he did his Broken Skull sessions and Steve Austin took him through all the phases of his career and the pictures, and he said, "Now look at those eyes now. That's a whole different guy in there now." And Drew's like, "Yeah, completely different man." And he is. Drew McIntyre is at the top of the card for a reason. He deserves to be there. His work ethic, his presence. I'm going to say this here, and I'm glad you guys are on the panel with me so y'all can agree with me. You're Scottish, dude. Putting a sword in a block is King Arthur. He's British. Stop doing that. It's such a disconnect. I hope and pray that they quit doing that, because I'm like, okay, you're supposed to be like William Wallace, not King Arthur. So stop putting the sword in the stone and then taking it out. That's so stupid. But anyway, little history lesson for all you 24-year-olds that do creative and don't know anything about wrestling. Anyway, but anyway, I really appreciate the man. I think the Claymore could eventually be the same level as Sweet Chin Music, because when it hits you, it's over. And I just think that he's such a talented wrestler. He was. I know everybody's like, he's been around the title picture too much. Y'all have got to remember, when he had the title, nobody was in the building. He deserves a moment in front of 50, 60, 70,000 fans where he can hold that title up and take in that feeling. He deserves that after all he's been through. Should it happen immediately? No. I do agree he needs to get back up there. And I'm going to throw this out there. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Could the Chosen One moniker be brought back, as he is the Chosen One to take down Roman Reigns?
Yeah, but SummerSlam in the UK.
Yeah, I think he is the guy. So
yeah, I like
imagine
that.
The pop.
I like that.
Imagine the pop. We've talked about the pop for Paige at the Rumble, but imagine the pop for Drew in front of a sold-out Wembley or Principality Stadium, wherever it is, taking the title off Roman. Writes itself.
I could imagine them doing like remember Edge's entrance at SummerSlam where he had like half brood, half Metalingus. I could definitely see him coming out to Chosen Dreams and then changes into his current entrance.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that idea, lads. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I really do. I keep thinking to myself, who in the company right now is credible enough that when he gets in the ring with Roman, he can actually take Roman down? I only think it's Drew. I really do. I mean, granted, they could wait a couple of years to build a guy up. It ain't going to be The Rock. I don't think The Rock will do that. And so, lose it, get it back. Brock Lesnar could, but I don't want it to be that way. I want it to be a guy who truly, after 1,500, 1,600, 2,000 days as champion, one guy, one babyface knocks him off for the first time. And to me, the only person in the company right now that would do that, and it would mean something, is Drew McIntyre. So that's my opinion. A lot of people disagree with me. I don't care if you do or not. I just feel that way. So anyway, number 4, Chris, we're back to you. Number 4?
3, I think.
3. Thank you.
Number 3, Pete Dunne. So
there you go.
I think we've all spoken about Pete Dunne now. Doesn't have much of a character or a gimmick, but he doesn't need one when he's that good at wrestling.
Doesn't need one.
His gimmick is just joint manipulation, and that's badass. One for the future, it'll definitely be NXT champion at some point. Had a phenomenal run as NXT UK champion. He's had multiple 5-star classics against the likes of Walter. Tyler Bate, one of the greatest matches I've ever seen against Tyler Bate for the UK title. I saw him wrestle when he was 14 at a park, literally like 2 miles away from me, just some like local festival summer fete kind of thing. Had no idea who he was. I have no idea who he was wrestling. My memory is a bit patchy, but I seem to remember being impressed by him even back then when he was 14. I think I'd have been about 16 or something. Love a good technical wrestling match. Love a good bit of smash mouth. Love a good bit of beating the hell out of somebody. Not many do it better than Pete Dunne.
Yep. Mike, you're number 3.
My number 3 is the Celtic Warrior, Sheamus.
All right, there we go.
I just want to say, as we get into my top 3, a theme during this episode has been, if only he would have done this, he would have been my champion. He would have been a top star. My top 3 are all top stars. Possibly the biggest names to have come out of the UK or Ireland. Sheamus just underneath my next 2 in terms of not being the guy.
Yep.
He's as close as he could have gotten. A 4-time world champion. King of the Ring winner, Royal Rumble winner, as all said, he's done it all. A guy who can get in there at 43, 44 and have, as he said on SmackDown last night, banger after banger after banger.
Yes.
He could be better than he ever has been right now.
He is. He is.
Which is incredible at his age. You know, he's 44. Is he going to keep going until he's 50? I hope so.
He will. He will.
Yeah. He's the guy to take the title from Nakamura. I think that's going to happen. Fairly soon, and I think hopefully after Survivor Series, because we don't need to see Sheamus and Priest again. Is after that, I'm thinking some of the guys you can have a match on SmackDown with. You've mentioned a few. One I'd like to see him get in there is Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland is a bruiser. He hit.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that.
If anyone's going to bring something out of Ridge Holland, it's going to be Sheamus. They're going to beat the holy hell out of each other.
I love that.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. 2 big guys getting in there, big meaty men slapping meat.
Yeah.
Give me Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Sheamus number 3.
I'll say Team SmackDown. You better have Sheamus, Cesaro, and Ridge Holland. You better. Yeah. That's a good Team SmackDown if you put those 3 guys on there for sure. Aaron, you're number 3.
So just a little disclaimer before I do go into my number 3, because I actually don't have any Irish wrestlers on my list. I'd already made it, and then I didn't have too much time to change it.
You can put them in. You can put them in your honorable mentions.
Sheamus would be on there, like without a doubt, for sure. No doubt about it. Like I can't agree with what you guys have said more about Sheamus. But my number 3 is William Regal. I just don't know how you could not include Regal, to be honest. This might be a hot take, but in my opinion, he's the greatest wrestler of all time to never win a WWE championship.
That's not a hot take. That's a good take. Good take.
He's so underrated, super underrated. Just like the quintessential heel character in his whole run. Excellent technical wrestler, great character work. As you said earlier, really good comedian when he needed to be as well. Yeah, he was just so reliable, wasn't he? But I always feel like because he was always in that mid card, people didn't really see him as anything. They didn't really see him as one of like the best technical wrestlers or anything like that. Not until he sort of became older. And he started getting in there with guys like that. I remember there was one Royal Rumble where he got in there with Daniel Bryan, and it was like, oh my god! And yeah, he's just so underrated. Yeah, it's so great to see just a little snippet of that. But yeah, it's, and he's doing great work on NXT. I think he's the best general manager of all time as well.
That's yes.
Like, no one ever criticizes him in NXT. Like, he's just been brilliant. So yeah, I love it whenever he pops up on screen, and he's still doing great work behind the scenes now. So yeah, William Regal.
I think it'd be interesting to see him as a general manager on the main roster at some point.
I'd love it. I'd love it.
He was he was general manager of Raw for a while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Umanga.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. That's all I remember from his
thank you. You brought back a whole bunch of memories right there. That was so great. Thank you. That was so great. Awesome. Yeah, put Sheamus in your honorable mentions. At least he's getting tons of mentions. All right, guys, we have reached number 2. Chris, we're back to you. Who's number 2?
A name that this is a new one. We've not had any new names come up for a little while here. Nigel McGuinness. Simply put, and we've said this about basically everybody on the list, especially Sheamus and guys like that, one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time, and it is a crying shame, it is a tragedy that he's never got to have a match in WWE. Arguably the greatest wrestler to ever step foot in Ring of Honor, which is an incredible title to give somebody considering the names that have gone through Ring of Honor, like Punk, like Bryan, like Steen, Cole, Sami Zayn, blah, 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 all those guys. Had incredible feuds there against some of those guys, especially Daniel Bryan. Yeah. Transitioned into a commentary role probably more naturally than anybody else that I can ever remember. He was great in NXT with Mauro. He's doing great work as a commentator now still as well. I would have loved to have seen him get a run as a commentator on the main roster. I feel like he just doesn't want to be in America. I feel like that's a lot of the problem for a lot of guys. Like Walter didn't want to go as well. Yet another case of a career being taken away way too soon. His special on I can't remember what it was called. His special on the WWE Network.
Yeah, I watched.
Broke my heart, man. It was absolutely devastating to watch that. Such a good guy, hardworking, passionate, incredibly talented. So many wrestlers have come out over the years and said that he was their favorite wrestler. He was the guy who got them into wrestling. He was their favorite opponent. Many different things that have been said about him, but they're never ever bad. I've never heard a criticism of him. I've never heard anybody say he wasn't a great wrestler. It's just unfortunate. He's a name that doesn't really get brought up very often. I think it's because, unfortunately for him, like, I love Ring of Honor. I have loads of Ring of Honor guests on my show. Nobody talks about Ring of Honor, and at the time he was in Ring of Honor, let's be honest, it was nothing. It wasn't even a part of the conversation. These days it is a little bit more, but back then it was like a bush league, wasn't it? It was the minor leagues. It wasn't even at that point the feeder company that it has been for WWE in the years since it. He's another case of, who is it I said? For the British Bulldog, if he'd have come through at a slightly different time, I think he would have been one of the biggest stars in the world. He maybe didn't necessarily have the look of a mega star, but he had the charisma, he had the ability, he had the talent. Yeah. I very nearly put him at number 1 on my list.
That's all right.
Need to watch more of Nigel McGuinness for sure.
So good, man.
Yeah, I definitely need to go back and watch more of him. As much hate as we give the WWE for a lot of the decisions they've made as a company, Ring of Honor, you could have been AEW. You had the opportunity. There was nobody else but the WWE in the world, and you were the only other company out there that was any semblance of anything. And you had the ability to do TV deals. You had Cody, you had Omega, you had the Bucks, you had Adam Cole, you had Red Dragon, you had all these guys. And what did you do? Nothing. You did nothing. You sat there and you ran your little business and you just didn't care about whatever. And then finally, when All In happened, they put you on the marquee and you did nothing with that. You did nothing with it. Ring of Honor is the criminally underrated for how good they could be.
There are so many good guys.
It's ridiculous, guys. It's ridiculous.
There's guys in there like Jonathan Gresham, like guys like that. So many other talent. They're world class. Like they're unbelievable. Bruce,
I don't get it.
A lot of Mexican talent.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Why are you so afraid to put your money where your mouth is and get a TV deal and let the world see you? Why? I don't get it. I mean, I'm unfortunate. I think if they do it now, no one's going to care. If they did it when they had a chance, can you guys imagine if they had gotten a TBS or TNT deal when it was just them and the WWE back in 2012? They'd be enormous. They'd be enormous right now. Stupid. All right. Sorry. Little Milo soapbox moment. Mike, who's your number 2?
Okay, so I've already mentioned my top 3 now. Into my top 2 are a lot of these guys we've mentioned are great wrestlers. I'm talking about the UK and it's synonymous with great wrestling. I'm talking about very good wrestlers, but the biggest stars, in my opinion, to ever come out of the UK. That's where I've gone with my list. Number 2, Drew McIntyre. We've mentioned him already. Drew McIntyre is a star. Drew McIntyre beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship in 5 minutes at WrestleMania. That's a star.
Yep.
He is first ever British. I know he's Scottish, but he is still British. The first British WWE champion. He held the championship through the pandemic era. He held it twice. He was probably the best wrestler throughout that era. He carried the company on his back throughout that era, and he never quite got his moment. I think his moment is going to come when he beats Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. I'm going to call it at SummerSlam 2022. I don't know if it'll be in the UK, but I think it's going to happen at SummerSlam next year. He is talking about him going back to a heel. I think he could, but I think he is the top baby face in the company. With Roman as heel, Drew is number 1 as the baby face. They can't turn him unless they turn someone huge back. I don't think so.
I'm going to push back a little bit and say I think it's Big E.
I was going to say Big E.
Maybe now, possibly.
I agree.
The last month or so. But throughout the last year or 2 years, it's been Drew.
I agree with that.
I think it will when he, as he gets hot on SmackDown, he gets into a good feud. Don't put him with Roman yet. Wait for that. I think they're going to build him back up because he's taken a few losses recently to put other people over because he can take those losses at the moment. He's built up enough stock, but it's time for Drew to start winning again. He is a mega star in the making. He's already a big star. He's going to go on and become a multiple-time world champion. I'm hoping SummerSlam 22 UK Universal Champion Drew McIntyre.
Okay, now did I miss something? Is it confirmed SummerSlam's coming to the UK next year?
No.
It's looking very, very likely.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully that happens. And it's got to be Drew and Roman in the main event. That'll be huge.
100%. I know Drew's been pushing to get a major event over there, so I hope that definitely happens. 100%. Aaron, you're number 2, sir.
So my final 2, they're probably not the biggest names from the UK, but
okay.
they're just 2 guys who I really...
It's your favorites.
2 guys who I enjoy. So my number 2 is a name that hasn't been mentioned either, and that is Pac, formerly Neville in WWE.
Yeah.
In terms of raw wrestling ability, I think he's one of the best in the world. So intense in the ring.
My gosh, him and Andrade are yin and yang.
Yeah.
Him and Andrade all night long. My gosh, that was great.
Yeah. Every single move he throws is just absolutely incredible. Yeah, just love it in the ring. I just think he can work sort of multiple styles. He can do that high flying, but he's also a great technical wrestler. If you want to go sort of strong style with him, he can do that as well. so he's quite versatile in that respect. And he has been doing okay in AEW. I think I'll always say I wish I could see him higher up in the card. Personally, I think he should be right up there in the main event scene. So hopefully we do get that down the line. But I think that most of the time I enjoyed him the most was in the WWE when he was King of the Cruiserweights as Neville. I just thought, because 205 Live, it wasn't really, a thing. It wasn't too big. But as soon as he became the Cruiserweight champion, I thought he elevated that whole show just tenfold.
Yeah.
One of the highlights of the WWE, whether it was Raw, I think it was, they were mainly on Raw, wasn't it? So for me, it was just one of the biggest highlights at the time. Just thought his character work was so good. So yeah, I'd have to go with Pac.
WWE really screwed up on Pac, didn't they?
They really did, man. So bad.
Making him drop the belt to Enzo, because that was the whole reason he chose to leave, wasn't he? He just walked out.
Yeah.
Unless you grab them by the neck and make them pay attention, the WWE does not have a good reputation with outside U.S. wrestlers.
This guy hasn't touched his ceiling yet. He's still, I feel like there's still a lot more from that we're going to see from Pac. So,
in my opinion, I think he's even underused in AEW at the moment.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Absolutely.
He has been,
I'm gonna start a hashtag Pac TNT Champion 2022.
I think that's who's going to beat Sammy Guevara.
Start there.
I
Go.
think that.
Him and Sammy would tear it up. They would tear it up. Oh my gosh, that would be a great match. I would love that. My number 2. I think all 3 of you have said him, and now it's my turn. My number 2. If you come at the Prince, you best not miss. Finn Balor, number 2. I cannot state enough how much I am so impressed with this guy. Finn Balor at age 40, when you put him in a match, it has the same feeling to me that Shawn Michaels did when he came to the ring. You're about to see match of the night. Finn Balor just has this amazing charisma and this amazing unspoken serious attitude that you just know when I get in the ring with this guy, he's going to bring everything he has at me. And I will say this, and I don't care if it's unpopular, I don't like the demon gimmick on him. I don't. I like the serious smash mouth, don't smile, black leather jacket, hit my legs, throw my hands up, everybody raises their hands and the lights go crazy. I love that character way more than the demon. The demon is it's fun, it's a good occasional thing, and I get why he has that, but to me, the guy that wrestles every single week is so much more compelling. It's so much more relatable as a guy that just wants to win and a guy that wants to have a championship, and it's less of Undertaker or The Fiend or Kane or any otherworldly character as opposed to a guy that I can get behind this guy. This guy looks like a guy that I can just go eat dinner with and then watch him get in the ring and kill somebody. To me, that I just prefer that more of the character. But Finn Balor, I will say this, as much as I love Adam Cole, and Adam Cole is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. As much as I love Adam Cole, the greatest NXT champion of all time is Finn Balor. He is.
I agree.
He is.
Champion, great ever superstar of NXT.
He is, and I know that's and I know that's sacrilege to everybody like me that loves Adam Cole. But if you really look at title defenses and winning them on your own, and the way and how they looked and the way the matches went, Finn Balor is the greatest NXT champion of all time, as of right now. I really
think that's the main
is.
thing, isn't it? How he won them, how he defended them, doing it by himself. People, we forget, like, Adam Cole was great, but he always had backup.
Yep.
Look who Finn's defended that title against: Joe, Pete Dunne, Kyle O'Reilly, Cross. I know he lost to Cross. Nakamura.
Adam Cole.
2 NXT.
Adam Cole, yeah.
2 big areas of NXT. Finn Balor was the champion.
Yep. So there you go. That's why he's my number 2. And guys, drum roll, please. We have reached number 1. Chris, coming back to you, sir. Who is your favorite UK wrestler of all time?
So, like I said, it was difficult. I very, very nearly put Nigel McGuinness in at number 1, but it's William Regal. He was a huge part of wrestling for me growing up as a kid, watching WWE, WWF. He's been with WWE on and off since 1998. So he's like that's like what 20 4 years.
3 years.
He's
Third.
only ever really been known.
Yeah.
I know obviously he was with WCW briefly
Yeah.
before that, but he's only ever really been known for WWF, for WWE. One of the longest tenured. Technical prowess allowed him to become one of the most well-respected men in wrestling. I don't think you'll ever hear a bad word said about him. Probably the only thing missing from an incredible career would be being world champion. Won more titles than most wrestlers could ever dream of. I've got a little list here. My notes: 4-time tag champ, 4-time European champ, 3-time hardcore champ, 2-time intercontinental champion, king of the ring. But like annoyingly, unfortunately, I had to go back and Google to realize that he'd won all of those. I don't think you really
Very underrated.
You don't even think about very underrated. You don't. Most wrestlers, you think instantly, okay, what did they win? What did they do? Blah blah blah. William Regal is one of the greatest of all time from the UK without even factoring in any of those title wins. Like I said, that was a secondary thing for me in putting him at number 1 on my list. How many is that? It's about 15 titles.
Yep.
I think it was. Looked like he was finally going to break into and become world champion, didn't he? I think it was about 2008, 2009. He was sort of flirting around the top of the card a little bit. Push was cut off because he had a suspension. I think it was something to do with the wellness policy and all that kind of stuff. Such a shame because then after that, he never really seemed to reach those heights again. People are quick to forget, or maybe they don't know as well. He helped to train CM Punk, helped to train Daniel Bryan,
Yes.
Samoa Joe, as you guys have all said, arguably the greatest general manager that WWE have ever seen. War Games is iconic. Just saying those 2 words. Terrifically talented. Could switch between comedy and serious, and that mean streak. Probably better than anybody else ever. Like the names that spring to mind are the likes of like Kurt Angle, who could be intense and then switch to comedy. Next thing you know, same for someone like Stone Cold. But I think William Regal was the best at being able to just switch up his personas at the drop of a hat. So it's William Regal. When you told us what the theme was, top 10 wrestlers, literally straight away I thought William Regal was going to be my number 1.
There you go.
Didn't even have to think about it. It was just straight away. Here's another good way of summing it up. This is the last thing I'll say on Regal. Everybody, when we talk about dream matches, when you say, "Oh, what's your WWE dream match?" you instantly jump to like The Undertaker, to Shawn Michaels, to Eddie Guerrero, people that we've lost, people that we could bring back and have classics against all these guys. Most of my dream matches have William Regal in them.
There you go.
So there you go. That is the first name that jumps to mind when you say dream match to me. I think Regal versus Benoit, Regal versus like the prime Jericho,
Pete Dunne.
Regal versus Pete Dunne. There you go. Exactly. So there we go. William Regal rounding off my list.
I think Regal Benoit happened. You could probably find that.
Yeah, I think it did.
I think it did.
I want to see it again.
I want to see it again in their primes.
Yeah.
Still a dream match.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, you're number 2.
Okay.
Number 1. Number 1. My bad. Dang it. Number 1.
That's all right. My number 1 is somebody that we haven't mentioned yet.
Ooh.
Continuing the theme of big stars, the biggest star to come out of the UK or Ireland. She. WrestleMania. She
I was wondering.
won 2 championships. She's Becky Lynch.
What? Who?
Becky
Lynch.
Becky who?
What?
To have come off of these shores. Becky Lynch is the only woman to have ever become the face of WWE. I think she did for a time there, and I think she's...
Dude, no offense to Roman. She still is. She still is.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. As much as I love Roman, I think she still is. I really do.
That is... I never thought, and no one ever thought, that a woman could become the top star. You know, she did do that. She main evented WrestleMania. No one ever thought that would happen. She won the main event of WrestleMania against Ronda Rousey. What more can you say about Becky Lynch? She is good at everything she does. She makes everything feel important. She can cut a good promo. She's very good in the ring. She's come back better than ever in terms of her ring work. Great as a heel, great as a face, and a megastar, a genuine megastar. So Becky Lynch at number 1.
It's like someone I thought who's, there's always that argument who was the next Austin, who was most similar to Austin. People say Punk, people say Moxley, Ambrose, but I actually think Becky Lynch is the closest thing to an Austin in terms of that like tweener who could just go on either side.
100%, buddy.
Yeah.
100%.
Just like she actually, sells tickets, doesn't she? She was a draw,
she's going to go into Raw now. And I love Biggie. Biggie's great, but I think Becky Lynch is going to go into Raw and be the main event of Raw, the top star on Raw.
I say we're recording this on October 23rd. Last night was SmackDown. Did y'all hear the end of that show?
Awful.
I know.
It was terrible.
I know all of that. They're teasing a couple things down the road. I know all of that, but the biggest pop and the loudest chant of the night is still Becky Lynch. It's still Becky Lynch. It's still Becky.
One thing I did like is that Becky and Charlotte, but way more so Becky, they showed how much they hated that doing it.
Yep.
They didn't want to do it. Yeah. Becky threw the belt on the floor. She was like, I'm not doing this, But obviously in the end they had to, but just fit with her character. Not, let's just swap titles and let's be done with it.
I think they're teasing a winner take all. I really do. I think they're teasing it. I hope so.
Could wait for WrestleMania.
Maybe.
I feel so bad for Becky and for Drew because if the pandemic hadn't have hit when it did, and lockdowns and restrictions and everything, they would both be certified megastars beyond the WWE. They would have been on talk shows. They'd have been traveling. They'd have been in movies. They'd have been literally everywhere you look. They both look like stars. They talk like stars. They carry themselves like stars. It's such a shame that everything happened when it did.
Yeah,
Becky. People are quick to forget how over Drew was. Like when he won that Rumble.
Yes.
Like everyone was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, such a shame.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's a whole lot about that with the fact that the company trusted that only Drew can hold this title during this time, but unfortunately, because you hold it and we're not there to cheer you, we're not there to react to you, then it dwindles and gets old. Unfortunately, because of just the way it was. No, I think Becky's got a lot more traction than Drew. I still think Becky is probably the top 1 or 2 stars in the company, and she's only gonna get hotter and only get higher. So, but anyway, let's finish this out. Aaron, your number 1, sir. Who's your favorite of all time?
So, this is another name that hasn't been said, but my number 1 is Zack Sabre Jr.
Okay.
Honestly,
he's in my mentions.
New Japan fan here, so
I can tell.
But every time I see this guy in the ring, I am just captivated. I think his style, it is a technical style, but it's so unique. Like his submission game is just second to none. This guy knows every submission and counter in the book. If you could describe a wrestler match as a game of chess, watch ZSJ's matches because that's what they are. But it's not just that. This guy can do strong style as well. Yeah, he's so great in the ring. But I think what sets him apart from a lot of guys is like the small details as well, how he registers everything. If you just see him, no matter if it's like a hit to the face or anything like that, he'll just sell it, whether it's like a small facial expression or, just completely selling the move. But just little things like that are brilliant. And I think his trash talking is the best as well in the ring. How like Chris Jericho trash talks in the ring. If you watch Zack Sabre Jr., he's just always trash talking the wrestlers, and it just sounds so funny in like a Japanese environment because obviously no one can understand him. He's throwing out all this British slang, so I'm so entertained every time I watch him. Like this past G1, I didn't watch all of it, but I watched every single Zack Sabre Jr. match because I just can't help but watch his matches. They're just so entertaining. So I hope he does come. I don't think he will come to America, unfortunately, but when he did show up in the Cruiserweight Classic, that was amazing. But yeah, I don't think his style fits the WWE. Maybe not even AEW, but yeah. I love him. So Zack Sabre Jr.
Maybe he'll give Impact a look. Maybe even Ring of Honor.
I've seen him in. Have you ever seen him live? Have you ever been to see him at a show?
I haven't. No.
He wasn't even announced for the show I went to. It was literally like a not even a bingo hall. It was like the back of a pub. The Empire in Coventry. Didn't know he was showing up. But honestly, wasn't really aware of him at the time. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. Man, I've never been so impressed by a wrestler like there in front of me. Can't remember who he wrestled against, but man, this show had Keith Lee and Pete Dunne both on it, and ZSJ, a guy I'd never heard of, was the highlight of the show. Man, he's so good.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's just so different to everyone else.
Yeah,
that's great. And I tell you what, I hope this happens. He's called him out, but Danielson, Zach, if that happens next year, maybe the 2 best technical wrestlers. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just
there you go. There you go.
Be mental, so
that'll be great. All right, we're gonna bring this plane in for a landing. My number 1 favorite UK wrestler of all time. She's the man. She's Becky Lynch. Oh my gosh, I can't. Again, we gave out the disclaimer twice now. I get that Ireland is not technically part of the UK. I understand that, but if I leave her off this list, I'm doing a huge disservice to the great culture that you guys have over there. Becky Lynch is truly a once in a multiple lifetime talent. This girl is such a broke the mold character, and I just. Her story is so incredible. The way she started, then took time off to heal and mentally get her mind right. And then Finn Balor called her up and said, "Girl, where are you? Get your butt back in the ring." And the work she did with her, the way she came over to NXT, debuted with a horrendous freaking Irish jig and somehow got past it and became a student of the game, soaked in all that knowledge from HBK and from Triple H. Thank God met Charlotte Flair, who brought some technical ability out of her, met Sasha Banks, who put some showmanship into her, and met Bayley, who she learned how to get some on the ring mat. She took that all together, but the one thing Becky has over all 3 of them is when she holds the stick, she's untouchable. She's untouchable. She has the ability to make you believe that she believes every word she says, because she does. She speaks right from her head, right from her heart, and when she had that turn at 2018, the entire world said, "Why the heck are you pushing her as a heel? We love her. We love her. We've waited for years for this girl to get a shot. She's getting her shot. Please switch it back." And finally they listened and said, not only are we going to put her in the ring with her evil nemesis, Charlotte Flair, we're going to put her in the ring with the baddest woman on the planet, and she's going to pin her. And she's going to win both titles at WrestleMania 35. What an amazing story. And then she held the title on Monday Night Raw longer than any other woman has held that title yet in its history. And Becky Lynch is just, to me, I know she's quote-unquote being a heel right now, but are you truly a heel when the whole world cheers you? Are you truly a heel when everybody jumps to their feet when your music hits? Becky Lynch is the face of the WWE right alongside Roman, and I truly believe WrestleMania 40, or WrestleMania 39, WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood, we will finally see in the main event submission match, Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, one-on-one. We will finally see it.
Maybe.
We will finally see it. If that match does not happen, we riot. That match has got to happen. It has got to happen. We have to see that happen. So, but yeah, I'm in love with her. She's my favorite female wrestler of all time. So if I ever do that show, she'll make number 1 on that list as well. I'm in love with the man. I'm in love with her character. Every time I see her on screen, she captivates me. Just something about her is so real. And Aaron, I'm going to hit the nail on the head with you. She is a female Stone Cold Steve Austin. And you mix in a little bit of The Rock in there and a little bit of Conor McGregor, and you get the man. That's who she is. So that's who she is.
Lynch versus McGregor. Fuck it.
Well, I mean, when she said, "I'm sorry for absolutely nothing," I was like, okay, there's Connor. There's Connor. So, yeah, there you go. But yeah, I'm a huge fan. All right, Chris, honorable mentions. Who you got?
Right, there with me. I had a little list. ZSJ was in there. Annoyingly, Pac didn't even cross my mind at all.
I forgot about him until the last minute.
Yeah, no, it didn't cross my mind at all, which might really
put him in now. Put him in now.
What's been going on with him in AEW?
Yeah.
So Pac, Finn, Becky, Zack Sabre Jr., basically everyone that has been said that I didn't say.
Okay.
I think it'd be a good
Okay,
way.
okay.
Little young veterans.
Real quick, let's compare notes here. So we all had the Bulldog.
Yeah.
We all had Finn Balor. You had him on honorable mentions. So we all had Finn Balor. We all had William Regal.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And is there anybody else we all had?
Oh, somebody else in my honorable mentions, Drake Maverick.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good show.
Yep.
I think we all had Drew.
We all had Drew.
No, I didn't have Drew.
Oh, you
No,
didn't
I
have
was gonna
Drew.
say, did Chris
Oh,
have Drew?
wow. Okay. Okay.
Paige?
Finn,
Did we all have
Becky.
Paige?
I have. Yeah. Okay. My honorable mentions. I have Pac, Paige, and Drake Maverick. So there we go. We all have Paige. So. All right. All right.
I got Nick Aldis because I haven't seen much of his work, but I have seen a couple of bits in NWA. And I agree with everything you guys have said. Dynamite Kid, that was hard to leave him off, but again, haven't seen as much as I have of British Bulldog of Dynamite Kid, but definitely respect him as one of the best to come out of Britain. And then for Irish wrestlers, Balor, Sheamus, Becky Lynch.
There you go.
You know, you guys have summed up for those guys. So.
All right. Mike, who you got in your honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. Pac, very tough to leave him off. Pete Dunne, very tough again. Tyler Bate, the first ever UK champion. Someone I think is so good in the ring and has got a very bright future. Nikki Cross, again, bright future. One that is going to be a bit of a surprise, Layla.
Yeah, ladies on mine.
Yep.
Layla, very entertaining. Part of a very entertaining tag team with Too Cool, former women's champion.
Okay, hold on. Get it right. Lay cool.
Layla.
You got Rikishi and Layla and Michelle McCool behind her.
Not too big. Yeah, she shared the women's championship, I believe, with Michelle McCool at one point as well.
Yeah.
Layla as well.
Great picks, guys. Great picks. All right, let's bring this in for a landing. Those of you that are listening or watching on YouTube, we appreciate it. Thank y'all so much for taking the time to do that. Once again, if you have not yet gone to check out our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/SmackDraw Podcast, please go do that and follow us and click the bell so every time we go live, you'll get notified. If you're watching us now on YouTube or if you're listening to us, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SmackDraw Podcast. Like, comment, and click the bell so every time we post a new video, you'll get notified immediately. We put out videos every single week. We don't want you to miss out on any one of them. And again, the ticker's going across the bottom of the screen. If you want to help us out financially, paypal.me/SmackDrawPod for a one-time donation, or go to our Patreon, patreon.com/SmackDrawPodcast, and you can see all the different level tiers we have on how you can help support our show financially. Mr. Chris Deez, put yourself over. What do you have coming up on It's My Wrestling Podcast?
So when is this this is going out in like a month or so, isn't it?
This will go out probably right after Thanksgiving.
Right, okay. I don't know what I've got going on around Thanksgiving, but recently released, I've just put out my Dr. Tom Pritchard interview. By the time this releases, I'll have put out my Maria Canales and Mike Bennett interviews, Nikita Koloff. I've got some things in the works. Talking to some potentially very big name guests at the moment.
Like Eric Bischoff? Come on, man.
Yeah. By the time this goes out, my first episode of Eric Bischoff, the All Elite
That's so
Record,
cool, man.
will have gone out.
That's so cool.
So excited, man. We're recording it on like the 2nd of November or something. The first episode's going to be sort of like looking back at the whole first 2 years of AEW. Sorry, because obviously it's been alive for about 2 years now, hasn't it? It was sort of like mid-October, I believe, when AEW came to fruition. So that's going to be really cool. That's going to be really fun. Just keep an eye on the channel. It's My Wrestling Podcast. Got loads of new stuff. I'm doing, like, starting to do lists. I'm starting to do reviews. Mike joins me basically all the time. I can't get rid of him. We do like previews, predictions, all those kind of things. Just trying to spread my wings a little bit more.
Awesome. Well, Mike, good segue into you. What are you working on right now, if anything, and where can we follow you on your social media?
Follow me at NannyBoy20 on Twitter. It's Chris Ted. I'm regularly on the podcast with him. Doing a few more of these. So looking forward to doing some more with you guys and Chris in the future.
Awesome. Mr. Aaron Wooldridge, what's Wrestling by Wooldridge got coming up, and where can we find all of your stuff on social media?
Yep. So similar to Chris, I'm not sure what I'll have coming out by then, but I have recently just finished my first season of Under Analysis, where I go through some historical matches from different companies and just give quite a detailed analysis of what the match is and what the build up was like, and give sort of a unique rating for it. But coming up, I have got some new ideas coming up. I've got a sort of a podcast where I go through some of the best matches for wrestlers. I'm going to be trying my hand in some more fantasy booking. I think it'll probably be out by now, but I am going to try and book what I think the Owen Hart tournament is going to look like. Just please subscribe, keep an eye on the channel. You can follow me on Twitter at Wrestling by W. And yeah, massive thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You can follow me at BamaDave24 on Twitter. You can follow the Bammer Slammer Wrestling Podcast at Bammer Slammer, and follow our brand, the Smack Draw Podcast, at Smacked Raw Podcast. Thank you so much, Chris, Mike, Aaron, for joining me today as we covered our top 10 favorite UK wrestlers of all time. What an awesome show this has been. And until the next time we drop the hammer, we'll see you next time here on the Bammer Slammer. Have a good day, everyone.